Why a fracture is called as open fracture? It is called so because the site of fracture or the wound is in contact with external environment, also with the infectious agents in the external environment. So why you are going to call it as an open fracture? Because the fracture is in contact with the external environment and also with the infectious agent of the external environment. So in case of open fracture, there are three risks which you have to keep in mind. Since it is in contact with infectious agent, there can be a chance of infection of bone and infection of wound. Now, since there is a wound, you are not able to treat the fracture traditionally. Whenever you think of treatment of fracture, the things comes to your mind is you are going to immobilize the limb or the affected part, you are going to put the fracture, and you are going to give the analgesics to relieve the pain. But what happens, since there is presence of wound, you are not able to put the fracture and cover the affected part totally. You have to manage the wound and the fracture both at a time. So the traditional method of treatment is not possible in case of open fracture, and there can be so many reasons for the non-union of the bone. It can be either the infection, the bone is showing non-union. There can be so many fragments and that fragments are unable to heal or unite properly. Then there can be a loss of a bone chunk and hence the bone is showing non-union. Or there can be vascular ischemia of the bone and hence because of that there is necrosis of bone and bone is showing non-union. So all these are the three risk factors which comes whenever you think of management of open fracture. Now let us see the proper management of open fracture. Again, we have in previous video we have seen the three basic principle of the fracture management of fracture. If you have not seen, I am putting the link in the description below. Go and see the three principles. I have discussed it in detail. Go and see the three principles of the fracture management and how you are going to manage the closed fracture. Now we are going to see here the three principles for the open fracture. The phase 1 is the emergency care, then we have the definitive care, and then we have the rehabilitation. So let us see the emergency care. Emergency care starts at the site of accident or where the fracture occurs. So what you are going to do, you are going to stop the bleeding. Since it is an open fracture, there is wound, there is vascular injury, you are going to stop the bleeding by applying the pressure over the affected part. Now what you are going to do, you are going to clean the wound by simple tap water. Don't put anything, alcohol, nothing. Just clean tap water, or if there is availability of saline, use it. So you are going to wash with clean water and saline, cover it with clean clothes. See, at the site of injury, at the site of accident, your intention is to reduce the contamination of the wound, or if it is contaminated, clean it as what is possible by you. So by putting the clean cloth, you are going to prevent the further contamination and remove the contaminated part. Then what you are going to do, you are going to splint the fracture. By splinting the fracture, there will be less movement of limb or no movement of limb. It will relieve the pain. There will be no fat embolism. There will be no further vascular injuries or soft tissue injury. And since there is no vascular injury, no blood loss, the patient will not land up into hypovolemic shock. And what if a piece of bone is fallen apart from the body? If there is devoid bone piece, what you are going to do, you are going to pick up that bone piece, you are going to wash it and keep it in clean cloth and give it to doctor. It can be used for the reconstructive surgery. So this is at the site of accident. Now you are going to see what will happen in emergency room. In emergency room, you are not directly go for the orthopedics care. You are going to stabilize the vital and do the wound care. So what you are going to do, you are going to clean the wound by the saline or hydrogen peroxide or povidone iodine. So you are going to clean the wound, you are going to splinage the limb properly. If it's not done at the site of accident, you are going to splint the limb over here properly and you are going to give the broad spectrum antibiotic for the prophylaxis. You can take cephalexin for the as a drug of choice, or preferred choice nowadays are 4th generation cephalosporin and glycosides for the patient. Then you are going to give the tetanus prophylaxis. You are going to see the immunization status of the patient. If he or she is properly immunized, it's okay. If he or she is not immunized properly, you are going to give the tetanus prophylaxis. And if you don't know the immunization status, just give the tetanus prophylaxis. There is no need to think over it. Then you are going to give the analgesic to relieve the pain of patient. But keep one thing in mind. If the patient is suffering from head injury, do not use narcotic analgesic. Okay, so you are going to do the narcotic analgesic, and from here the definitive care of orthopedics start. From here you are going to do the radiological imaging and going to treat the wound and the fracture in definitive manner. So what happens whenever you manage the closed fracture, you just have to take care of bone. But when there is an open fracture, there are two parallel things going on: wound care and fracture management. So whenever we are going to see the wound care first. So you are going to remove the cell debris, dead cells, foreign bodies. It's removed already in emergency room, but still you are going to assess the wound and you are going to clean it. By this saline, you can use povid iodine and hydrogen peroxide, and you are going to repeat this process after every 72 hours. You are going to repeat it after every 72 hours. At the time of first cleaning, you get two situations. The first one is that the wound is clean, the wound is less than 6 hours and it is vascular. So what you are going to do here, you are going to glucose the wound and you are going to treat it as a closed fracture. If the wound is small, okay, if it's type 1 and type 2 open fracture. But if the wound is not clean, it's contaminated and it's more than 6 hours, you are going to treat it as open fracture. So there is a flowchart for the management of the open fracture. So the first one, see, you can get a wound, either a small puncture, the wound is clean and lacerated. You can see it is a clean cut and there is no contamination at all. Or you have doubtful lacerated. You don't know whether it's clean or it is infected or not. And then you have the proper infected wound. So what happens in small puncture, sorry, I'm really sorry for that. What happens in the small puncture, you are going to leave it as it is. Like you are going to, if the puncture is a bit more, you are going to stitch it up and you are going to treat it as a closed fracture. There is no point of dilemma. Simple puncture, close it and treat it as closed fracture. But if we get a clean lacerated wound, you are going to do the primary closure. We have just discussed in the previous video. What do you mean by primary closure? You are going to clean the wound, stitch it up, and you are going to treat it as a closed fracture. What happens when there is a doubtful lacerated? You are going to observe it for 2 to 3 days. You are going to see whether there is infection. And if yes, there is infection, it is going to heal by delayed primary closure. What is delayed primary closure? You are going to close the wound. You are going to primarily close the wound. But you are observing it for 2 to 3 days. Delayed primary closure. And then is the infection. If there is, yes, there is infection, then you are going to treat it with secondary closure. Right? You are going to keep it open, you are going to take care of the wound, you are going to reduce the infection, and you are going to take care of the bone as well. So hence it is a secondary closure. And if you know the wound is infected, you are going to treat it by tertiary intention. What do you mean by tertiary intention? It is a mixture of primary and secondary intention. Please go and check my previous video. I am also putting the link down below. I have covered type of open fractures and wound closure and wound healing. So if you see that video, you are going to get this chart fit in your mind. Okay? Then let us move towards the specific fracture management. The management of open fracture differs from the closed fracture. Like, you need to immobilize the limb in both fracture, right? But in open fracture, you have a wound to take care of. So what you are going to do? You are going to do immobilization in plaster. So see, plaster is applied. Can you appreciate this blue one? The plaster is applied, but the wound is kept open. See, here the wound is open, and since the wound is open, I am able to assess the wound, clean the wound, treat the wound, and keep the infection status less. Then we have what happens. See, if this is a small wound, a simple window is going to help. A simple window, and with the plaster, the limb is going to immobilize. But what happens when there is big injury, big wound? You have to keep that wound bigger window to take care of that wound. And what happens? Putting a bigger window can reduce the strength of the plaster. The plaster can break. So what you are going to do? You are going to put the plaster. You are going to put the keep the window, but you are also going to put the pins to immobilize the limb properly. So see, you have skin over here. This one is a plaster, and these are the pins or screws as per your need. Then is skeletal traction. What happens? The bone is fractured. You have open fracture, and the bone is fractured. And if the bone is inserted by the powerful muscles, though you reduce the fracture, because of the pull of these fracture, these bone can again separate from each other. So to prevent that, what you are going to do? You are going to nullify the pull of bone by the traction over the joint, and by applying the traction, you are again putting those ends together, and you are reducing the bone properly. So you can put the skeletal traction. Then is internal fixation and external fixation. First of all, you are going to see the internal fixation, and there is a concept in external fixation. So let us first see the internal fixation. See, this is the X-ray of bone. Here is the fracture. So to internally fix the bone, we are going to surgically open the affected site. You are going to put the screws and plates and going to fix it internally. Right. Now, external fixation. What happens most of the time? There is a loss of chunk of bone. And if the chunk is lost, you can't just, if the chunk is lost and you have united the limb, one limb will be longer and one will be the shorter limb. And this is not acceptable by the patient. Even cosmetically, it's not accepted. How can one arm is long and one is small? It's not. So you have to do the osteogenesis process. And that process is called as distraction osteogenesis. So what happens? See, this is a bone, this is the affected part, and this part is missing, and here again we have the affected part. So what you are going to do? We are going to remove the cortex and break the bone just above the affected part. And what happens? So here we have the healthy bone. Here we have surgically break the bone, and this part we are going to reduce it the lower affected part. So this is the affected part and this is the affected part. Now this is the affected bone we have broken, and this is the affected part, right? And further what we are going to do is, see, this is the bone, this is the cut we have made, this is the affected piece, and this is the reduction, right? So you get a bone like this. Now what you are going to do? You are going to put the pins and fix it. So these are the pins. You are going to keep this part reduced, this part reduce permanently, and you are going to pull this part away. And by pulling, every day there is osteogenesis, and because of that pulling, new bones grow and you regain the length of the lost part. Since you are distracting the bone, okay, wait a minute. Since you are distracting the bone and the new bone is generated, you call it as distraction osteogenesis. And the physiological limit for osteogenesis is, this is the MCQ, keep this in mind, 1 mm per day. Right? So this is the distraction osteogenesis. So for external fixation, you can have either the rail fixators, see, the rail fixators or the ring fixators. What happens is the rail fixator are provided with the scales and proper length management. So for the distraction osteogenesis, rail fixators are preferred over the ring fixators. So here we are done with the definitive care. Now we are going to see the rehabilitation care. See, the rehabilitation care, I have discussed it in detail in my fundamental principle of fracture management, but again I am going to discuss in short over here. The rehabilitation care starts with the definitive care. So what you are going to do in definitive care, you are going to reduce the limb and you are going to immobilize it. But you are trying to immobilize it for shorter period of time, because if you immobilize it for longer period of time, there will be stiffening of joint, wasting of muscles, and the limb will be non-functional after the removal of cast. So you are going to immobilize for shorter period of time. So you are taking care of its rehabilitation. So rehabilitation means what happens, what you are going to do in rehabilitation now, you are going to give the passive movement to the patient. The patient is so in tremendous pain and with very less energy, he or she cannot move the limb on its own because of pain. So what, it's a work of physiotherapist who is going to give the continuous passive movement to the limb until the removal of cast. And after removal of cast, you are going to give certain exercises to the patients to perform on the affected part, and because of that he or she will regain its functions of the muscles and the joints just like the pre-trauma. So this is how you